So this video is the setup, preparation, and process of placing an ulnar gutter splint along with a sugar tong splint. First off, you will need ortho glass. It can be 3-inch or 4-inch. In this case, we are using 3-inch. You will also need a stockinette. Usually, if it's for the leg or the lower extremity, you'll use 4-inch. Or a 3-inch depending on the size of your patient. We are using 3-inch today. A pair of scissors is always helpful. And then we have cast padding. It can be 1-inch, 2-inch for the ulnar gutter, or 3-inch depending on the patient's habitus. And then you'll want ace bandages, and those could be 2-inch, 1-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch. Today we're just using the 6 and the 2-inch. Along with a 3-inch as well. And then it's always nice to have a pair of gloves just to be able to keep from sticking to the ortho glass. That always makes it nice. And then we've got a towel here for drying off the ortho glass. And then of course we have a water source. Hi, so we're going to talk about a sugar tong splint. You can use a sugar tong splint for an elbow. In order to keep a person from rotating their wrist. You can also use it on the side of the ankle, which is what we are going to do. We have indications at this point in time that there's some lateral laxity, so the sugar tongue will be used to keep the ankle in a neutral position and not allow it to go to invert or evert, or supinate or pronate. And so the first things that we need are our stockinette. We always love the wonderful stockinette. And so we will place the stockinette. We usually don't want the sugar tongue to go much higher than the tibial tubercle. So the stockinette can go just a little bit above that. I usually try and start in the back and then come forward around the heel, and then I will allow it to go towards or at the tip of the toe, and that's where I cut, knowing that I can actually roll the stockinette back. My scissors with this have not been great today, but that's kind of how life is sometimes. The great thing about the stockinette is once it's cut, you basically just put it on like a stocking. Okay, so as you can see, I have plenty at the toes and plenty up above. Again, this is so that we can roll it back to be able to kind of protect the patient. The next step is to measure the leg and then come over and utilize the ortho glass. It comes in a beautiful roll, just like this, and it's packaged. Believe it or not, it's very, very malleable. So I measured earlier and left a little mark here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Now, let's cut it first, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about how to take care of the ortho glass. As you'll see, the ortho glass itself, the container has marks for measurement on either side, which is great. So you can always use those to reference. So before I go back to my patient, I want to take care of this roll of ortho glass. And in this, what I want to do is I want to fold the edge up and stick it inside just a little bit. And the reason why I want to do that is because as long as it's sealed and has no air getting to it, it won't harden. Then I'm going to take the beautiful clip, chip clip, or in this case, ortho glass clip, and I want to make sure I get it all the way down on this area, or on the packaging. The reason is that that air then will not flow, and hopefully I will have saved from spending too much money of ruining an entire roll. It's also a great way to make sure that you stay on your preceptor's good side, because a person that ruins the roll of ortho glass, it's not a good side. So we'll go ahead and put some gloves on. And then the other thing that we need to do is we need to wrap the leg with the cast pad. Because I kind of cut this a little bit early, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just cover the area, make sure that that air does not reach it while it just sits here in the package. All right, so now we take our cast pad with the foot and ankle. We always want to make sure that we don't have too many folds in the actual stockinette itself. Usually it's not a problem, and as you can see in this case, it's not too bad. But as soon as I put her into 90-degree flexion, unfortunately, I now have a lot of material that it could cause any type of ulcer, irritation of the skin, and then of course infection. So I'm always afraid of that. So one way to fix that is I'm going to grab those scissors again, and I'm going to place a little hole right here, and then I'm just going to follow with my scissors along to the edge. Not all the way, but just enough to release that tension, and basically then I can flatten this out and put it down much like a sock would be. And that's much better fix for the patient than having a wad of stockinette in that area. Go ahead and stay close. So always when we work with a foot, if we're casting it or if we're placing the splint, we want to take a look at where the toes are. And if you'll notice, they angle. They're never straight across. So therefore, our cast pad and our cast tape should mimic that. So I always want to find where the base of that fifth metatarsal phalange is. And then I actually want to lay this at an angle, all right? So you'll notice it's not just straight across. And then I just wrap the foot. For those athletic trainers out there, you have your figure of 8s that you will sometimes utilize in order to make sure that we're covering all of the ankle and the foot. Sometimes a person's ankle is not real easy to work with, so you may have to tear it and get fancy. But again, the key is that you don't have a lot of overlap and that things lay nice and smooth. Usually about 2 layers of each is what I like to do. 2 layers of the cast pad, and then that way I know I'm covered. And 1 more there. Good. And then you can just roll all the rest of the way up. Usually the rule is that you can split it about 50% as you're rolling. And again, as I've mentioned before, we're rolling, we're not pulling, okay? So make sure that you're rolling around that body part. Again, I'm going to come pretty high up just so that I am making sure that I'm covered and protected. All right. Take one last look, make sure I've got everything covered. I see 1 small spot on the heel. This will work great because then I can just kind of cover it that way. Let the cast padding be your friend. It works much better that way in life. All right, now we're going to actually apply the splint. The hardest part here is probably the fact that the patient still has to stay in this 90-degree angle, and that can be a little bit frustrating. So sometimes if the patient needs help, you can grab this and just hold their foot up for them, which is always nice to help with. Of course, if their ankle is really painful, that might even cause more pain for them. So we have our orthoglass again. Orthoglass is great. It's covered in felt, but you can pull it off and then just pull this part out if you need to. Or you can just cover it and make sure that there's no sharp points that are going to be poking the patient. So the idea of a sugar tong is going to be like a salad pickup, right? So it's a tong, or a sugar tong as we like to call it. You're going to basically place it at the foot and pull up so that the ankle stays in 90 degrees, all right? Usually we will put water on this just so that it'll harden quicker. Today though, because I want to mold it a little bit, I'm actually just going to let it air dry, and I'll show you how that works. So with the sugar tong, sometimes you'll need a posterior splint as well. Sometimes you'll need a posterior long leg splint along with the sugar tong. It just depends on what fracture is going on or where the injury is. Juliana, do you mind just hanging down there? Good. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna actually fold up here so that your toes can be seen. And we'll start with the ace bandage. Again, I'm rolling. And we still always go distal to proximal. Okay, go ahead. You can let go. I am using a 4-inch ace wrap, which is completely fine, but you'll notice that I did not get the heel. So I will go back around with a 6-inch so that we can go up higher as well. Sometimes the sugar tong does need to be higher, and that's completely fine and understandable. Again, it just depends on the injury at hand. Not always do you need 2 ace bandages, but unfortunately I was not able to go up as high as I wanted to for compression. So I am using the 6-inch. Technically I could have started with the 6-inch, but because her foot is so small, it made better sense to start with the 4-inch. Just a little bit of why I chose the way I chose. All right. And now at this point in time, I'm going to squeeze in so that I have good support. Remember though, I don't want my hands to rest, because if for some reason I make an indent, I now have an area that could cause infection or irritation, and that's the last thing we want, is to do more harm to our patient. Usually when the patient is in a 90-degree or a neutral position, they actually start to feel better. How are you feeling?
Good.
Okay. And like anything with cast and splints, we always want to check cap refill. She has fingernail polish on, so we can just go down a little bit and make sure that that cap refill is coming in nicely. Can you wiggle your toes for me? Good. And close your eyes. Can you feel that?
Yes.
Okay. So neurovascularly intact, cap refill is good. And it's a pretty good sugar tong. That's it.